A prayer circle is credited with saving the lives of the band Sugarland. The country duo was set to perform on the stage that collapsed at the Indiana State Fair last weekend. They were in a prayer circle before the collapse when their stage manager decided to hold them backstage for a few minutes longer. Helen Rollins' decision probably saved every band and crew member's life.
Pat Robertson's Christian Broadcasting Network's declaration that it was divine intervention which saved the lives of the Sugarland band implies the parallel declaration that it was divine punishment which killed 7 and injured 43 in the Indiana State Fair stage collapse. Pat Robertson's version of religion asserts we are born sinners deserving of punishment. There is no basis for this in the life of Jesus. It is this type of thinking which brings blame to the victims when something terrible happens to them. And the Indiana State Stage Fair collapse victims deserve none of that. This is what Fox News and Megyn Kelly do, stating,
"Despite several warnings of severe weather, some fans stayed put."
The majority of Megyn Kelly's segment was interviewing Indiana State Policeman Don Moran discussing his brief encounter with security guard and victim Glenn Goodrich.
Good time talking for just a few minutes. That was the first time I'd met him, and then I could see the storm coming in, and I just said, "Glenn, we're going to get wet. I'm going to go under the stands so I don't have to be out here in the rain." And he said, "That's right, Chaplain, you go ahead and keep dry." And so I walked away across the path, the dirt path, underneath the stands. I heard everybody scream, and I turned back, and I just saw the stage collapse.
This brief clip shows Don Moran did not know there were severe weather warnings, and there is no indication Glenn Goodrich knew he was dispatched to an area with severe weather warnings. Fans stayed put because this is what really happened.
The severe thunderstorm warning was issued at 8:39, but the fair did not tell the crowd about the weather warning. Instead, this announcement was made 4 minutes before the collapse.
So please get ready, because in just a couple of minutes, we're going to try and get Sugarland on stage. Have a great show.
There you have it. Fans had no severe weather warning, no orders for evacuation, only the expectation Sugarland was going to come on stage. Now I would like to share with you Heather Goodrich's story.
My world changed in an instant. Life as I knew it was not going to be the same again.
Glenn Goodrich, being a daddy, was second nature. Provider, protector. It's who he was. It defined him.
He was a heroic person in daily life. He was always there to help people. He was always there to share a laugh, share a shoulder, whatever was needed, he could be counted on.
That's why providing security for others was a job that came naturally. He worked for ESG for 16 years, protecting stars like Johnny Cash and Muhammad Ali. He was a big man with a big heart and an infectious grin. And he was working security on August 13th. As the clouds darkened, Glenn was called to the sugar pit, right in front of the stage. After the accident, Heather tried to call her husband, got no answer. Then at 10:30, an ESG employee came to her door.
The minute I saw him, I guess I knew, but I had to hear the words. But once I heard the words, my world shattered.
In the hours that followed, Heather learned how her husband had died. Her provider, her protector, had pushed 3 adults and a child free from the falling stage rigging, but could not save himself.
In fact, this morning, my 9-year-old asked me, he goes, "Will I ever be happy again?" And I said, "Of course you'll be happy again." I said, "Daddy would want you to be happy again, but it's going to take some time."
Time and prayer and hope and
faith in God. My faith has really brought me through it. I pray for strength, comfort, and peace every day. I pray with my boys.
And she reminds them that Daddy's death was not in vain.
He lived a hero, he died a hero.
And her children have returned to school. On Monday, Heather will go back to work.
And she says her husband is always with her. She feels his presence, and that brings her a great deal of comfort.
He is the one person that so many people have said to me, I knew that guy. I was, at the Train concert covering that on Thursday. Several of the people were like, he worked here. We knew him. He was so fabulous.
So many people knew Glenn,
Yes.
but he was that kind of person, just kind of bigger than life, a real people person. And because he had been working security for so long, 2 decades right here in Indianapolis, a lot of people didn't know him.
Well, she's beautiful.
Yeah.
All right.
Indiana Governor Mitch Daniels has reportedly not met with any of the families of the victims. He has stated the stage collapse was a fluke, and he has went further to rationalize and minimize the stage collapse to being equated to tornadoes and floods. But tornadoes and floods do not charge $400 for front row seats. Tornadoes and floods have warnings. The Sugarland concert had the public announcers state they were coming on stage. There were no warnings. Those are huge differences. Differences Governor Daniels has not addressed or even acknowledged. I can only speculate why Governor Daniels fades away from leadership, and shall address that in my next video on the stage collapse. But for now, I want to say I would have loved to have met Johnny Cash. He's my favorite country singer. And I would have loved to have got front row seats at the state fair to see him in concert. Those dark clouds to the north are going to stay north. I know that because it was announced that Johnny Cash would be on stage in a few minutes. I've paid $400 for my seat to see Johnny Cash, and I'm not going to move and miss out on seeing him come on stage. I just know if there's a problem, the state fair would tell me to evacuate. I just know it. Now, I would like to think I would have felt the chill of the wind here 10 seconds before the stage collapsed, that I would have turned around and been moving fast to keep dry, that rain was coming and Johnny Cash was not coming out on stage. But I can also see women in their 20s would not realize the weather was changing and would not be acting as quickly. So the victims of the stage collapse are not to be blamed in any way. It would have angered me how close to death I had come, that I was betrayed by the Indiana State Fair to look out for my safety. And I can see other people traumatized with guilt who were also able to get out of the way of the stage collapse. That they could have pushed someone away from the stage at the same time they were fleeing. And yet, the state of Indiana seems oblivious to these problems that they caused. I know I would not be a hero like Glenn Goodrich. He deserves recognition for his deeds. So much more recognition than what he has received. He's paid the price for it. So peace to Glenn Goodrich and the other heroes who saved lives at the Indiana State Fair.